Chapter 5. The laws pertaining to the cleanliness of a place in which holy words are recited. Devarim states, cover your excrement, because God, your Lord, accompanies you in the midst of your camp. Your camp must be holy, lest he see anything lascivious among you. Based on this, our sages and brachas stated that wherever God accompanies us, i.e. wherever we are involved in holy matters, for example, reciting the Shema, the prayers, words of Torah, and the like, our camp must be holy. This implies that there should not be any excrement openly revealed, nor should there be any sexually arousing things before the person who is reading or praying. It is even forbidden to think about holy things while in the presence of excrement, urine, or any other foul-smelling matter. As it states, you shall cover your excrement. Pouring a reverse of water into urine nullifies the prohibition against reading in the presence of one release of urine. There is no difference whether the urine was contained in a receptacle and one poured water over it, or the water was contained within a receptacle and one urinated over it. This does not apply if the receptacle in which the urine is found is intended specifically for that purpose, as mentioned in Law 13. If one has urinated twice, 2 reverse are required. This continues for further amounts. The footnote, the Mishnah Berurah maintains that a reverse of water can nullify a number of urinations. Even if the urine is absorbed in the ground or a garment, it is necessary to pour water there as long as some moisture is present. In this instance, a reverse of water is not necessary. According to Shulchan Harav, on the Shabbos it is forbidden to pour water on a garment to wash out urine. Mizgeres HaShulchan. 3. A person who has excrement on his flesh, even though it was covered by his garment, is forbidden to recite holy words. As Tehillim states, all my limbs will declare God who is like you. Therefore it is proper that they all be clean. Though there are authorities who are lenient in this matter, it is proper to be stringent. Footnotes, the same applies to semen if that's on his flesh. Similarly, if there is an excrement on one's garments, it's forbidden to recite holy words. Nevertheless, leniency can be observed if all that is involved is stains, provided they do not produce an odor. The Magen Avraham deals with the question of hemorrhoids. According to most texts, he reaches a very stringent conclusion, stating such a person has no alternative. However, there is a printing error, and the text should read such a person needs no special measures. 4. One should take care to check before reciting holy words. If there is a reason to suspect that there are feces or urine present in a place, one should not pray in a house if there is filth in the upper story. 5. When a child reaches the age when children would normally eat an olive measure of grain in the time it would take an adult to eat 3 eggs, K'dei Achilas Pras, the Yavetz fixes this age at 1 year. One should separate oneself from his excrement and urine. This applies even to cooked grain. It is good and proper to separate oneself from the excrement of even a child of 8 days. 6. When praying, one must keep a distance from human feces, even if they do not have a foul odor, and similarly from the feces of cats, jackals, and English hens. However, in general, the excrement of other animals, beasts, and birds does not produce a foul odor, and one is not required to keep a distance from it. However, one must separate from such excrement if it does produce a foul odor, and similarly from a foul-smelling carcass, any substance that smells foul due to mold, and a chicken coop. Similarly, one must separate from foul-smelling water. The water in which flax or canvas is soaked generally smells foul, hence one must separate from it as from excrement. 7. Excrement that is so dry that it crumbles when turned over is considered as dust, provided it does not have a foul odor. However, excrement that is frozen is still governed by all the above laws, for it will return to its previous state when it becomes warmed. Nevertheless, excrement that is covered with snow is considered to be covered. 8. How great a distance must one separate from feces? And the same laws also apply to urine if water is not poured over it. If the feces are behind him, he must place a distance of 4 cubits between himself and the point at which the odor of the feces is no longer discernible. This applies even if he personally does not smell the odor. He must keep the same distance as if he did. When the feces do not produce their own odor, it is sufficient to separate himself by a distance of 4 cubits. If the feces are in front of him, he must move away to the point that they are no longer visible. Footnote, a person who is in a different room from feces need not move beyond the point where he can no longer smell the odor of the feces. It is also proper to turn to the side so that they are no longer seen. At night, one must move away to the extent that they would be impossible to see by day. This also applies if the feces are located to one's side. However, one may turn so that they will be located towards one's back. 9. When feces are found in a room where communal prayers are recited, even if they are found behind the chazan and there are 4 cubits between him and the point where the door odor is no longer discernible, he must remain silent and wait until they are removed or covered. It is impossible that at least one member of the community will not be within 4 cubits of the point at which the odor of the feces is discernible. He would be forbidden from hearing and paying attention to the prayers the chazan recited. 10. Should a person conclude his prayers and afterwards discover feces in the place where he prayed? This refers to human feces discovered within the distance mentioned in the previous law. If the place was one in which there would be a suspicion that feces might be found and he was negligent and did not look for it, he must repeat the Shemoneh Esrei. The Shemoneh Esrei was instituted in place of a sacrifice. His negligence causes prayers to be considered as the offering of the wicked, which is an abomination. The same applies to Kriya Shema, since its recitation is an obligation from the Torah itself and does not involve reciting any blessings in vain. However, one should not recite the blessing before and after the Shema, and the same applies to other blessings recited there. Even if one recited the grace after meals in such a place, one should not repeat the blessing. Footnote, the Mishnah Berurah also requires the repetition of the blessings associated with the Shema, and similarly the grace after meals under such circumstances. If it was unlikely that feces be found in the place where the person prayed, he was not negligent, and after the fact he is considered to have fulfilled his obligation, even regarding prayer. If urine was found in a place, even though the place is such that one should have suspected that be found, after the fact one is considered to have fulfilled his obligation. Footnote, however, if a person knew of the presence of the urine and prayed in that place regardless, he must repeat his prayers. 11. If a person expelled gas from below, he is forbidden to recite any holy words until the odor ceases. He must also wait before continuing his prayers if a colleague expelled gas. However, a person who is studying Torah need not pause because of gas released by a colleague. 12. One must keep a distance from a lavatory even if it's surrounded by walls. This applies even if there is no excrement within it. A toilet seat, even if the receptacle is removed and the hole is covered, is considered as a lavatory and must be removed from the house or covered. Leniency may be taken regarding a seat that is also designated as a chair and covered with a cushion, and only when necessary is the cushion removed. The seat used as a toilet and then covered again. 13. A receptacle for feces or for urine is considered a lavatory if it is made of earthenware or wood. This applies even if it is clean and does not produce an odor. There is no difference if it is filled with water, turned upside down, or placed beneath a bed, for our beds are not considered to be separations. Rather, it must be removed from the house or covered. Footnote, this law has relevance today regarding a child's potty. Since it is designated as a receptacle for excrement, no holy words may be said until it is taken out of the room or covered. There is no need to separate from it if it is made of metal or glass, has been washed thoroughly, and does not produce an odor. Since pigs often forage amidst excrement, the mouth of a pig is considered as a toilet bowl. This applies even to a pig which has just climbed out of the stream. Washing does not change its status. 14. It is also forbidden to think or speak about holy matters in a bathhouse. The Shulchan Aruch also forbids making halachic statements in a bathhouse. However, a person may make such statements in order to prevent a colleague from violating a prohibition. Furthermore, any of the names of Hashem, even those in a foreign language like Gott in Yiddish or Boga in Polish or Russian, may not be mentioned in a bathhouse or in a place of filth. Similarly, one may not greet a colleague with the expression Shalom, because Shalom is one of the names of God, as Mishpatim states, or Shoftim rather, and he called it God, Shalom. Some also forbid calling a person named Shalom by his name there. Others permit it, since the intent in mentioning the word Shalom is not to utter Hashem's name. It is common practice to accept the lenient view. However, a God-fearing person should be stringent. 15. It is forbidden to speak words of Torah and holy matters in the presence of nakedness. Excuse me. This applies regarding one's own nakedness or that of another person, even a small boy or girl, only to allow for the mitzvah of circumcision. Was permission granted to recite a blessing in the presence of a child's nakedness. Footnote, the Magen Avraham mentions opinions which allow holy words to be recited in the presence of the nakedness of a boy younger than 9 and a girl younger than 3. The above applies even if one closes his eyes in order not to see the nakedness. This is insufficient, since it is before him. Rather, one must turn one's face and body away from it. 16. Should a handbreadth of any portion of a woman's body that is usually covered be revealed, or similarly even if a small portion of the hair of a married woman which would generally be kept covered be revealed, this is considered as nakedness for a man. Footnotes here. Even less than the handbreadth of a woman's legs is considered to be nakedness. Shulchan Aruch. Similarly, one must take precautions not to recite holy words in the presence of a nursing woman, even one's wife. Since at present it has unfortunately become customary for many married women to refrain from covering their hair, some authorities do not consider the hair as nakedness and allow prayer and Torah study in their presence. It must be noted that even these lenient opinions do not condone the practice of going without covering one's hair. There is no difference in this regard between one's wife and another woman. Nevertheless, for a woman, the above is not considered nakedness. The voice of woman singing is also considered nakedness. Nevertheless, in a difficult situation, when a man hears a woman singing and cannot prevent them from doing so, he should not refrain from reciting the Shema, praying, or studying Torah for this reason. Rather, he should make an effort to concentrate his attention in the sphere of holiness in which he is involved and pay no attention to the singing. 17. If a person's heart sees his own nakedness, even though his nakedness is covered, for example, he's wearing a robe, but there's no division between his heart and his sexual organ, he is forbidden from reciting any holy words. Footnote, the Shulchan Aruch also prohibits reciting prayers when one's genitalia are in contact with any other portion of one's body. Rather, he should wear pants that cling to his body, or a belt, or fold his hands over his body to separate between his heart and his genitalia. A woman need not take care regarding this.